So this morning, probably about 20 minutes ago, I swerved into some information in the Bible that provides enough evidence. There's evidence in the book of Revelation and in the book of Zechariah 14 that indicates that there might be nuclear warfare taking place on the earth. But I found one more piece of evidence that I believe provides rock solid proof that the world is going to end. When I say the world is going to end, the Roman world is going to end in a blaze of nuclear explosions. I'm going to go to that scripture in just a few minutes. Before I do, I have told my audience many times that I keep watch on many websites, including Twitter, Israeli websites, even so-called conspiracy theory websites, even websites that are anti-Semitic. I watch those people. I watch what they do. I watch what they say. And one of those is a former government agent. That has been documented. He's been a former government agent that has been on the outs with the government for quite some time now. He claims, and he was thrown in prison during the Obama administration, so he was on the outs for certain. Extremely anti-Semitic, and as you might have been watching the news lately, you will have noticed that Russia is entrenching themselves in right outside of Ukraine. If you look on Yoel And News, you can see this. And on January the 10th, that would be tomorrow, there is going to be one final meeting, whether it's over the phone or what, I have no idea, between the President of the United States, the President of Russia, and also Presidents/Prime Ministers of Europe, concerning them giving each other ultimatums concerning Ukraine. You can look on Yoel And News. You can check out the Intel Crab, and they keep you up to date on those things. Russia rules out any concession with U.S. at talks on Ukraine security in Europe, and it is disappointing with U.S. signals so far, etc., etc. And then you find out that a intelligence agent, a former intelligence agent in Kazakhstan, started this civil insurrection in Kazakhstan after the government removed price controls on propane gas. What I mean by price controls, they were subsidizing propane, and the price of propane gas got so high that the government could not afford to subsidize it anymore, so the price doubled overnight. And of course, this agent, former intelligence agent with Kazakhstan, apparently he and some others began passing out guns when riots and demonstrations started breaking out in Kazakhstan, and they had to ask Russia for help. And now they are accusing outside interference, aka Western Europe and United States of being involved in this. Now you have to understand, folks, that this East-West divide began with the schism within the Roman Catholic Church. The Great Schism. And it was even before that, because Constantine, after living in Old Rome for a while, he decided to move to New Rome, which also had 7 hills, 7 mountains, just like the Old Rome did. That New Rome would be Constantinople. And that, moving from one Rome to the other, actually caused the divide to develop in the so-called church many years later. And so you had the East-West divide. And what we ultimately have today is it is the same schism. It is the West versus Byzantium. Now, you might say, well, hold on now, Henry. Turkey has Constantinople. Yes. Just like Scripture was fulfilled, in a sense, when I believe it was the 6th, was it the 6th Crusade, where the Byzantines were asking Western Europe for help in fighting off the Ottoman Turks. So when they came to help, they were expecting money, payment, whatever. They came all the way over there and found out that they were not getting money and payment. Western Europe, aka the 10 Kingdoms, in 50 days burned Constantinople to the ground. Many don't know this. I believe that is a partial fulfillment of Scripture. You can look it up. You have Google. You have access to Google just like I do. And since then, relations between the two sides have never been the same. Today, Byzantium would be the Orthodox Church. That would include Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Coptic Orthodox. And on the other side, you have the Catholic Church and all the Protestant churches. This is what we're really looking at here, folks. It's not about Russia versus the United States. It is about Western Christianity versus Eastern Christianity, fighting amongst themselves. So, I would highly advise you to use Twitter I would be careful about using Hal Turner. Half of the things that he posts are false. And I don't know if this is true or not. But what it caused me to do, reading this morning, as I do every morning, check out what he has, and then I go and look up all over the web to find out if he's saying anything truthful or not, or if it's just mere speculation, or worse, outright lies, which he does outright lies quite often. So I read this rumor, Biden and Harris evacuated to Area 51 on Saturday. Now, he claims to have evidence of it. But I'm not sure that that's evidence. You see. You have a map that appears to show Air Force One and Air Force Two going to Area 51 and then going back to Washington, D.C. Now, if they were actually evacuated to Area 51, why would these planes go back to Washington, D.C.? That makes no sense to me. So that's why I tell you, if you read this website, you must use common sense, because this guy doesn't have any. All right. So he's claiming rumors in Washington, D.C. this morning that 2 executives did not return on those return flights. Those rumors say both executives are now hunkered in deep underground bunkers, where they will control the U.S. military during any upcoming conflict with Russia. Do I believe we're going to have a nuclear conflict with Russia? After what I just read about 30 minutes ago now, I believe yes. I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. So here he shows that downstage could be used anywhere to make it appear Biden was still in Washington, even if he is not. Now the claims are being made. This is unsubstantiated, unprovable. There are additional claims that certain members of Congress and their families are, as of Sunday morning, quietly being moved into their own bunkers. Alleged witnesses say black SUVs have been seen at the home address of certain congressional members loading suitcases for congressional families and then taking the members of Congress along with their families quietly away, perhaps to underground facilities as well. As of 8:50 a.m., these rumors on U.S. time Sunday, none of these rumors have yet to be confirmed. The flight of both aircraft is confirmed, which, yes, it is, but no proof that either Biden or Harris were actually on either of these planes. All right, so, and he says Americans would do well to make sure that they are prepared as best they can be with emergency food, water, medicine, generators, fuel, and communications gear if things go sour and war commences this coming week after the U.S. and Russia meet at NATO headquarters in Brussels tomorrow. And that's, yes, the U.S. and Russia officials are going to have their final meeting tomorrow, supposedly final meeting tomorrow concerning the Ukraine question. Now what I want to do is go to that scripture. It is in Yoel 2. Verse 28, in the after part, that is after Israel's tribulation is over. This can be backed up in Matthew 24 and Luke 21. In the after part, I will pour out my ruach upon the flesh of your sons and your daughters. This connotes a later generation from what Yehovah was speaking to Yoel about. They shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. And upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my ruach. I will show wonders in the heavens, in the sky, and in the earth. Blood? Blood in the sky? Is that what it means? Blood on the earth? Blood in the sky? and fire, Esh, which is, by the way, the last name, the surname of many of my relatives, Esh, and pillars of smoke. Where is it, Henry? Where is it? I'll show you. This word here. Tiymarah. You see that? Do you see? It says palm-like columns. What do you mean, palm-like? A palm-like column. Tiymarah. Now, in Revelation, where it talks about a volcano, and I used to think this was volcanoes. That's what I used to think. Until I checked this word with Strong's Concordance. In Revelation, I believe it is, right here, a volcano is described as a great burning mountain, a great mountain burning with fire. Fell into the sea. Well, that's obviously a volcano. This is not. This is a palm-like column of smoke. Let's have a look at a palm tree, shall we? All right. You see, a depiction of 3 palm trees, 2 of them together here, 2 of them together here. Okay, now we got a depiction of one singular one. All right, you see how a palm tree is very narrow and has a nice little wide bush over the top. Just look at a nuclear explosion. See this right here? You see this? This is where when it begins. This is when it's fully bloomed. You see how narrow the lower part is, and then you have this nice little wide bushy part. You see? See that? See that? You see that? You see that and that? Palm-like. These columns of smoke are palm-like. Now, I believe you have enough evidence that where it is written in Zechariah 14. That is talking about nuclear explosions. Now, as I have pointed out in other videos, that even King James knew what this was talking about, as far as this is retaliation for the Romans who destroyed Jerusalem. What's first going to happen is the day of Yehovah's wrath came upon Jerusalem, and their houses were rifled, and their women were cut to pieces. That it is cut down. Shakah means to lie, cause them to lie down, kill them dead. And half the city went into captivity, and the other half of the city shall not be cut off, but they were cut off by the sword. Right there, they were cut down. That was during the Roman invasion. And because of that, Yehovah is going to come and fight against the Gentiles when he fights in the day of battle against them. That's the day of Yehovah's wrath upon the Gentiles. The day of Yehovah's wrath on the Jews came first, and then comes the day of Yehovah's wrath upon the Gentiles. And it shows where his feet is going to stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives. Now, it says that in that day the light will be precious and rare. There won't be any light. It will be dark. It doesn't say nor dark. It says it will be dark, congealed. And in the evening in Jerusalem, there will be light. Now, here's a plague that comes along with his return, with Yehovah's return. The plague, Yehovah will strike all the people that fought against Jerusalem. That would be the Romans, both east and west. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Why? Because in that day a great tumult, disquietude, confusion from Yehovah shall be among them, and they will lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, sons of Japheth against the sons of Japheth. Why do I keep saying that? Because there is something written in Genesis 9. And his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the Gentiles round about shall be gathered together, gold, silver, and apparel in great abundance. Isaiah 60. That this plague will affect the horses, the mules, and the camel, the ass, and all of the beast that will be in these tents. In the tents of who? The tents of Japheth. Let me show you something. In the end, the sons of Japheth will have nothing, and they will be forced to live in the tents of Shem. Genesis 9. This is when Noah handed out the blessings and the cursings. Most people will not see the truth, concerning the blessings and the cursings that were passed out. Now, concerning this episode where Ham disrespected his father, Noah, he did not curse all the sons of Ham, or Ham. No, he only cursed Canaan. But the rest of the sons of Ham received no blessing and no curse. Does that mean that Japheth received a great blessing? Well, when you see their final end, it's a momentary blessing and an utter curse at the end. A curse worse than Ham's non-blessing. So he says, "Blessed be Yehovah Elohim of Shem, and Canaan will be his servant." Does it say, "Blessed be Yehovah Elohim of Japheth"? Nope. Does not. It does not. What it means was that Shem was a believer along with Noah. But although Japheth did not dishonor his father as Ham did, he was not a believer in Yehovah. He just followed his father's instruction concerning building the ark and going into the ark, but he was not a believer. Right here. The believer was Shem. Blessed be Yehovah Elohim of Shem. Then it says Elohim will enlarge Japheth. Make him very, very large. Let's go and look. Map of the world. Let's see if I can get a real good blow up. All right. Sons of Japheth. Are you ready? All of Russia. I'm not saying that they're all sons of Japheth. I'm just saying that Russia, this is the tents of Shem. Do other groups of people live in there? Yes. But these are the tents of Shem. Tents of Shem. These are the tents of Japheth. But not only is Russia the tents of Japheth, all of Europe is the tents of Japheth. All of the United States, Canada, Greenland, Mexico, and South America is the tents of Japheth. Once again, I'm just saying that there are others who live in these lands, but they are owned and governed by the sons of Japheth. What do the other tribes have? Well, you have Cush has the majority of Africa, with the exception of the Cush, son of Ham, has sub-Saharan Africa all the way down to South Africa, and then you have the sons of Ham, Mitzrim, Northern Africa. Okay? Then you have Cush goes around, not through Saudi Arabia, but around Saudi Arabia into Hindu Kush. I'm pointing right here to actually Persia. That's not it. Hindu Kush is right here and going into India. All right, so that would be the sons of Ham. Africa, India, Hindu Kush. And now, please folks, don't go around arguing with me concerning Australia, because I know the Aborigines of Kush live there, but this Australia is owned and operated by the sons of Japheth. So clearly the sons of Japheth tents were enlarged more than any other. Who was second? Second was actually Ham. And Shem was the smallest. I want to show you something. Okay. Minus Turkey, because Turkey is also essentially owned and operated by the sons of Japheth. You see Syria, you see Israel, you see Iraq, Iran, and the Arabian Peninsula. That's it. The sons of Shem. That is it! That's all! The smallest. So how does Japheth live in the tents of Shem? when the tents of Shem are extremely small. Folks, it is time to use your thinking cap. You have read over and over and over and over again, talking about how the exalted shall be humbled, how the great shall be made small. You have read that over. It's time to use your brains. So we read that the Gentiles who destroyed Jerusalem are going to fight against each other with weapons that cause their flesh to rot out of their eye sockets and their nose holes while they are still standing. What do you suppose that might be? You see, in Revelation, you see in Revelation 9 verse 18 that a third part of men are going to be killed by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which comes out of the mouth of these particular, in the sixth trumpet sound, by the way. 4 angels were loosed and prepared for 1 hour, a day, a month, and a year. There has never been a time in history when 1/3 of man was killed by anything inside of 2 years. Didn't happen. For to slay the third part of men, and the number of the army of the horsemen were myriads and myriads, and I heard the number of them, and I saw the horses in division, and they that sat on them have breastplates of fire, and of hyacinth, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were like heads of lions. So obviously they weren't horses after all, because they had heads of lions, which means they had wide head. I showed you pictures of Russian intercontinental ballistic missile launchers, mobile ones, and they resembled this. And out of their mouths issued fire and brimstone, and by these three were the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone. In a month, a month and a year, a day, a month, and a year, to kill a third part of men. See, folks, you're living in those days. You have the ability to discern. But the folks who were translating did not have the ability to discern. But you do. For the power is in their mouth and in their tails. I showed you pictures over and over and over of the mobile ICBM missile launchers. Their tails are like serpent's tails, and those serpent's tails had multiple heads, and with them is where the injury comes from. Now, going back to this one, palm-like columns. Wonders in the sky and in the earth. Blood in the sky and blood in the earth. Fire in the sky and in the earth. Very likely coming from these pillars, palm-like columns of smoke. And then the sun shall be turned into darkness, and in the moon to blood, facing, not before, but facing, in the face of the great and terrible day of Yehovah. And it shall come to pass, those who proclaim not the name of the Lord, that is a lie, but the name Shem Yehovah. Those who proclaim Shem Yehovah will be delivered in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem. Shall be an escape. Just as Yehovah has said, had prophesied in that last surviving generation. Those he will call. Now, in all truth and honesty, if that exchange of nuclear weapons happens in the next few weeks or month, I'm not going to sit here and say and assume and presume that I'm going to live through it. Neither should you. You should, however, be ready for it and proclaim the name of Yehovah, not just under your breath, because what good is it to put a bushel over a light if you haven't been doing it? What in the world were you waiting for? Are you afraid? Why would you be afraid? Are you ashamed of that name? Is that the reason? You see, the name Yehovah is in the name of the Moshiach. All right. Luke 9 and verse 26. And let's go to Strong's Concordance. For whosoever shall be ashamed of me, that includes his name, and my words, he shall, the Son of Man, also be ashamed when he is come into his own glory and in his Father's and the holy messengers. How about that for some food for thought?